Do you want to change your life for the good, for the better, to have a better life than you had before? Well, I'm going to tell you my story about how eBay and selling on has changed my life, and I think it can do the same for you. Welcome to the Prof Sales YouTube channel. I am Prof Sales, your host for today. My normal sidekick, Kaaren, is not here. She is away taking care of some family business. But I will be here today to talk to you about all the things we talk about on this channel: reselling, mindset, selling on eBay, thrifting, being in business for yourself, lots of things along those lines. But today's topic is about changing your life, because I know there's a lot of you out there, if you were like me, that you probably at some point in your life, and maybe you're at that point right now, where you say, you know, there's lots of things I would like to change about my life. And a lot of those things revolve around your choice of job, your career, maybe the business you're in, all those things, right? And a lot of times the answers to those questions on how to do that is not very clear. But all I can do is give you the benefit of what's worked for me and my experience, and then see if maybe some of the things I'm saying today, hopefully they will connect with you on some level. I want to point out that this is a live show. There's a live chat going on right now. So if you would ever like to join, we come on every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And of course, you can leave a question or comment down below after this show post as well, if you have a question or just want to, just comment on what we said, or just give us a thumbs up if you like. That's always accepted too. We appreciate that. So if you're enjoying the content, a thumbs up is great. But I wanted to talk to you guys today about eBay and what it's meant to me and how I think it can help you as well. So let me start off and just tell you guys very quickly just my perspective coming into eBay. I was someone who grew up with two parents who worked at the same company for about 70 years between them. That's a long time. And there was never really an entrepreneurial spirit in our household. There was never any emphasis on it. There was no one really close to me in my family who was in business for themselves or had struck out on their own. Most people that I knew worked for some other company. Both my parents worked for the same company, and they did from early on in my childhood till into my adulthood. That was just what I knew them to do. And it seemed perfectly normal. And I guess as I came along and I started maturing, I started searching for, like I think most of us would, a similar fit to what my parents had. I wanted to find some company to work for, some business, and hope that it would, of course, give me the financial security I needed, but also that it would fulfill me. And I never stopped to question why I wanted that. I think the only reason I did want it was because it was all I knew. It was all I saw growing up. And I just felt like that must be what you do. You're a child, you're a young child, you're a young man, then you're a man, and you progress into working for somebody, because that's going to do it for you. That's going to give you the income you need to survive. It's going to give you a chance to thrive even. But here's what's funny, gang. My parents, loved their job sometimes, and sometimes they hated their job, and probably most days were in between. And it did provide for us. So we had a nice, middle class upbringing, not rich, not poor, somewhere in the middle for sure. But I wouldn't say they thrived. And I don't think they would say they thrived either. They did not have college educations. They did take some additional training along the way. They made the most of the education they had. They came from a different time when those things weren't, seen as important by some employers and so on. And here I come along. I went to college and got my education. And I thought coming out of that I would be able to just write my own ticket, right? It's the dream, the illusion, I don't even know what you call it, the fantasy in some cases, that I'll go to college, I'll get a degree, I'll come out, I'll get a great job, it's gonna be awesome, I'm gonna live this amazing life. And then none of that happened. None of that happened. I came out of college. I got a sales job, which sucked because I sucked at it. And the job kind of sucked too, looking back on it. So between the two, it sucked. I didn't make a lot of money. Then I got another job working in like a financial aid office. I worked in a rent-to-own company for a while. That was interesting. I eventually got a job in retail management and did progress through that somewhat and spent several years there. And before you know it, a decade and a half, almost 2 decades had gone by. And guess what? I did not have the dream. I did not have all these riches. I didn't have this sense of fulfillment. I didn't have this wonderful, amazing life. None of it came to me. And I just kept thinking to myself, well, if I get the right job or the right opportunity, or if I work hard enough here or go there, and you know what? I came to the realization that that was all kind of a lie. And it wasn't a lie where anybody was trying to necessarily put one over on me. It was just a lie a lot of people bought into, because this is reality. If you want to get a job working for someone, there's nothing wrong with that. But guess what? You are working for an entrepreneur. Somewhere along the way, somebody started that company into something greater than when they started, because now you're a part of it too. That could be whether you're working for a multi-billion-dollar corporation or whether you're working for a mom and pop in your hometown. Doesn't matter. If you get a job, you are working for some other entrepreneur and you are living their dream. You have become part of their dream. But it took me a while, but I realized I was living in their dream, but not my dream. And my dream was never my parents' dream. It was never to work for someone else. I just didn't really connect with what I should be doing. So along comes eBay, and I'd had this experience, and I've always liked technology. And I thought to myself at some point several years ago, I thought, well, maybe I can sell some things on eBay. I didn't really think about it becoming a career at that point, or a job or a business or anything like that. I just thought maybe I can sell a few things, make a few bucks. It'll be fun. It'll be profitable, whatever. I like challenges. And I realized some things about eBay were done that I didn't have to do, that other people who start businesses have to do. Like if you started a business 20 years ago, you would have to do all these things, whereas eBay had already done the legwork. So eBay took care of the marketing. They took care of the website. They took care of payment processing. They took care of having a way to get my items on their platform. They took care of all that. Because if I was just going to start a business, I would have to do all those things. I would have to figure out how to market the business. I would have to decide where the business resides. eBay has a website. That's where my business resides. I would have to get customers. I would have to figure out how to, get payments from those customers. And for me to get paid, I would also have a lot of other things. I would have to, do all the things you have to do with a brick and mortar location, have insurance and taxes and rent space, and it's very expensive. eBay took care of all those things, which was a draw for me right off the bat. So I think there's some things that I've learned from eBay that I want to share with you guys today that have really changed my life. And I think they can change your life too. Now, it might not be with eBay, but I think going into business for yourself is the most empowering thing you can do for your financial future. Certainly, whatever career you have, and possibly you as a person. I think it really is that revolutionizing for most people. It doesn't come without hard work. It definitely has its ups and downs, just like anything else. But there are certain parts to it that so appeal to me that I think if you are searching for ways to change your life for the better, I think they're going to appeal to you too. So I'm going to share those with you and how they've really changed my life, not just my business life, my life. The first way is freedom. When I can work when I want to work, I can spend time with my family and friends when I want to spend time with them, when it's more convenient, when the schedule works. I am not a slave to someone else's vision of my time. When you go to work for someone else, it's on their terms. It is on their schedule. You do not get to necessarily choose when you get to work. all the time. And you might have some flexibility and you say, well, I can work for this person as long as I get this amount of work done in this amount of time. But ultimately, there's still a constraint there that says, I need you to do this amount of work in this amount of time and this way and so on. And I love the freedom of controlling my time, because I don't know about you guys, I hated the 8 to 5 jobs. I hated the 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. jobs I had in a couple cases. I hated the fact that I did not get to decide what I do every single day in my life. Who wants to go through life living under someone else's clock? I don't. And I am so glad that I don't have to do that anymore. Now, of course, there are things that I have to do and so on to be successful. But I'm telling you right now, that is one of the biggest freeing things when you realize you are no longer on someone else's clock and you're on your own. Time changes everything. It's all we've got. It's the only commodity you can't get more of. And when you take control of your time, you're going to take control of your life in a way that you never thought possible. And selling on eBay, being in business, allows you to do that. Number 2, control. And this one is very closely tied to the first one. I can run my business how I see fit. Yes, eBay has rules, for sure. There are policies and procedures, but there's a lot of latitude within those rules. I can sell a lot of different things, a lot of different ways. I can have a big store. I can have a little store. I can decide not to have a store. I can decide to do auctions. I can decide to do best offers. I can decide to do good till cancels. I can put my store on vacation for a while if I want to. eBay doesn't care. I can decide what I'm going to buy, what I'm going to sell, how much of it, when I'm going to do it, where I'm going to go. All these things you do not have control over when you work for someone else. You don't get to go in and suddenly get to revamp the entire organization. You don't get to decide that you get a pay raise. You don't get to decide that you're going to go off and I think we should go invest in this line of products now. You don't get to do that when you work for somebody else. eBay allows you to do that. Being in business for yourself allows you to do that to a way that you can never fully comprehend until you do it. That freedom from someone else's control over how you do things. I mean, don't get me wrong, guys. There's nothing wrong with the job, but it is 100% wrong for me. And it took me years to figure that out. And I'm betting somebody listening to this right now, the sound of my voice, it's wrong for you too. You've just been hesitant to pull the trigger and do something different. And I'm telling you to quit waiting. You need to pull the trigger. You need to go in a different direction. Life is way too short to spend it miserable. So stop doing it and start living, and quit trying to make a square peg fit in a round hole, because it's not going to work. There are plenty of people I know that love working for someone else. They don't want to have all that, the decision making and so on. But even there, guys, there are days when you just probably come in and your boss or a coworker or a customer or whatever is just on your last nerve, and it's just, you just feel like walking out the door. I'm not going to tell you to walk out the door, but make plans to walk out the door and figure out a way to do it. And selling on eBay is one great way you could do that. You can replace it. And I promise you that if you do that, you're going to have, number 3, a sense of accomplishment. Selling on eBay has been one of the high points of my life. Yes, high points of my life. Now, there's been a lot of other personal high points, so on as well. But why has it been such a high point? Because here's why. I have created something out of nothing, and I did it on my own terms. I did not do it by anybody else's playbook. I took bits and pieces of what other people did, but I've charted my own path. I've gone against the grain. I've gone with the grain sometimes. I've done it the way this person said it sometimes. I've done it the way that person says sometimes. Sometimes I've done it a way that nobody said to do it. And I've done that because I'm living my dream and not someone else's dream. You cannot do that when you work for somebody else. It is always going to be their dream, because they're doing the same thing. Like, they want to do it their way. They're not going to allow you to come in and just completely change it up. And when you do something the way that you want to do it, not your husband, not your wife, not your kids, not your neighbors, not your other family members, not your boss. When you do something the way you want to do it and you get results, I don't care if they're tiny little results. I don't care if you make $1 profit your first month selling on eBay or you make $10,000 profit. Doesn't matter. It's accomplishment. It is accomplishment. You should celebrate it, celebrate it, celebrate it. And you should be very, very proud of that, because not everybody has the courage to go do that. A lot of people don't. A lot of people stay stuck in that rut of working for someone else, just hoping that things turn out well for them, and then being amazed sometimes and really heartbroken when they don't. You've taken that action. You've gotten that accomplishment. And that is such a great feeling, guys. I don't take it for granted. I know sometimes we look at it and say, well, I only did $2,000 sales this month. And last month I did $2,500. That's still an accomplishment. Maybe it was lower. So what? You still accomplished something that a lot of people will never accomplish, and that you weren't accomplishing in the past either. So I think you should always be proud of that. I think it's a great feeling to have. And the cool thing is, if you sell on eBay, you get to have that sense of accomplishment every single day. You get to have that sense of accomplishment that you are living your dream and you're doing it your way on your terms and getting results. And I don't think that you can find that working for someone else. So I love that sense of accomplishment. Number 4, value to others. This one is kind of a little bit more pie in the sky, maybe a little more prof-like, because I really look at it this way. Whether it's the people that buy the items I sell on eBay, or whether I'm sharing information like I'm doing right now on YouTube, I bring value to other people's lives. I'm able to bring something into their life, whether it's just a simple product or maybe it's a word or a piece of encouragement, and they find value in that. Because I really believe this, guys. I didn't used to believe this. But I think we're all created to serve one another. And if you do that, if you serve other people, you find fulfillment in yourself. It fills you up, just like it fills them up, and obviously helps them as well. I never felt that way working in other jobs. Never, never, never did I feel that way when I worked at jobs. I never felt like I was fulfilling some grander purpose. I didn't feel like I was particularly helpful to the customers. I always felt like I just wanted to get through the encounter and move on to the next one. I just wanted to get through the day and get done, because it wasn't my dream. It wasn't my way of doing it. So it never really felt right. So I think that when you bring value to other people's lives, you are doing, you are performing at the highest level a human being can perform at, honestly. I mean, that's what it is, guys. That's all there really is. Because I know we're born kind of selfish. When you're born, when you see a little baby, they want what they want. And then somewhere along the way, we learn that, like, we can't live life that way. We can't be selfish all the time. We've got to give things to other people, truly give it to them. And there's great value in that. And I think that if you can view being in business for yourself, selling on eBay or any business for that matter, as serving other people, maybe you're serving your family, maybe you're serving your customers, maybe you're serving your community, maybe you're giving back to your community some of the profits that you make and so on. That there is tremendous satisfaction in that, guys. I mean, don't discount that. Like that is something that, yes, you can do that with a job too. But the difference is when you do it on your own, you do it through eBay or a business like this, it's your version of it. You get to decide how it works. You get to decide how you're going to serve your customers. I mean, eBay, for instance, has a feature where you can give to charity a percentage of your sales on a particular item or even all your items. That's amazing. Like I need to get better at doing some of those things. I do some other things outside of that, but I think that when you do things like that, guys, like this is not some game where like whoever dies with the most toys wins. That doesn't get you anything. Like the only thing that you really get out of this life is what you put into it while you're here, and what other people, this sense of serving other people, that is going to fill you up far greater than any material possessions could ever do. So you got to give things back to people. Whatever you know, give it away. Whatever you have, give it away. It's going to come back to you. That's the funny thing. It's like, if I think about all the people that I've shared with in this reseller community over the last 2 or 3 years, if you added up all the time and energy I put into it, it would not even come close, not even close to the value and benefits I've gotten back out of it from so many ways, from people with encouraging stories, with encouraging comments, with tips and ways for me to be more successful, with partnerships, with friendships. I mean, it is way better than you could put a price on, and far more than I've given out, because it's weird. Like when you give something back to a community or people, it has a way of going out and multiplying. It gets greater than what you did. And then that comes back to you in this weird way, maybe not right away, but at some point it comes back to you much larger and a much grander scale. And you're like, oh, I didn't expect that to happen. And so I think, being able to provide value to others is a great benefit of being in business for yourself. I mean, you can provide value to other people, even if you're not in business for yourself. But I think this just provides you an amazing avenue to do it on your own terms. The last one I wanted to talk about here, guys, was that there's this self-employed motivation. How many of you in the chat right now? We have 100 people watching, and thank you guys very much for that. I really appreciate you guys coming out today. And please, leave me comments and so on. And if you like the content, hit the like button, all that good stuff. But I'm just glad that there's a lot of people here today checking it out. How many of you believe that you are motivated, that you're self-motivated? And what I mean by that is that, like, you are able to get up every day and do what you need to do. I don't know about you guys, but I have struggled with that my whole life. And I can tell you that a traditional job, for me, and I think for probably some of the people watching, it was never motivating. It was demotivating often. And it didn't matter how much money I made or what the benefits were, or what the job was. It felt like drudgery. I felt like I would just get up, I would go to this job, whatever the job was, and today would be no different than any other day, other than I just got a day older. I wasn't progressing. I wasn't moving myself forward. I didn't even have a desire to move forward in a lot of the places that I worked. Some I did, and some I did move forward and make some, promotions and so on. And that was all well and good. But even there, it was like, it just never really felt like it was really any sense of accomplishment. I think that when you become self-employed, if you go that route, or even partially self-employed, it's easier to get motivated for it. I know that sounds crazy, because you think, well, if you got a boss there who's going to fire you and now all of a sudden you're going to paycheck like a regular job, then that's very motivating. That's not motivating. That's working out of fear, not out of joy. And I think that when you're working for yourself, whether you're selling on eBay or what have you, that you can find this motivation inside you that you may not even have known existed, because it was so beat down. You were so beat down working for all these other people and working these other jobs. And even if they were good people and good quote unquote jobs, you still get beat down by guys. It's like psychological, because you're climbing a mountain there and you feel like you have to climb the mountain. Whereas when you work for yourself, you want to climb the mountain, because you get to pick the mountain. You get to pick the equipment you go up the mountain with. You get to pick when you start and how much you climb today and how much you climb tomorrow. You get to decide all those things. But when you're a regular job, they stick you on a mountain with no hope of going very high, very fast. You're always going to be limited by someone else's assessment of you, for lack of a better word. You're not in control of your financial destiny when someone else is signing your paycheck. That's just reality. And you think you are, and you think they would never fire me and I'm so valuable. Nonsense. Nonsense. You're not bigger than the company, and they can get rid of you in a heartbeat for any reason or no reason. Or they can just keep you where you're at. That's almost worse. I think that a lot of this part comes down to is hope. You've got to have hope. You've got to have hope that you can make a difference in your life, in the lives of the people around you, in your customers' lives, in the community around you. You got to have hope that things can get better, that you can do better, that you can be more, that you can be fulfilled. And I think a lot of times when we work for other people, guys, hope dies. It dies, and it dies a horrible death. And sometimes it dies early on in your career. Sometimes it takes a while. But it can be soul crushing when you work somewhere and you realize that it's never going to get that much better. So now what are you doing there? Are you just wasting time hoping that something better is going to come along? You got to go make it come along, whatever it is. I mean, I worked at one retail job and switched to a different retail job. And the ironic thing was, it was kind of a lateral move, but it wasn't really a lateral move. The job I was in a terrible store that was run terribly by a terribly run company. And I worked a ridiculous number of hours and just felt like I had no hope of anything ever getting better there. And I was just going to be stuck there. I had no one above me that could help me. I had nowhere to go very easily. And so I made a lateral move. I didn't even move for any more money. I moved for the same money, but it was to a totally different company because I thought, man, I wasn't so much going towards that other company. I was running away from where I was because there was no hope that I could see of it getting any better. So I just think that you have to have this motivation about you in your life. And that when you're self-employed, even if it's on a partial level, I actually think it's easier to find. I know in this community we complain about, oh, I don't want to list, and I don't want to source, and I don't want to take photos, and I don't want to pack and ship, and I don't want to deal with this customer. But guys, get stuck in a job for year after year, decade after decade, where you're doing all those things anyway, and you have no way to change any of it. You want to talk about lack of motivation. It's no wonder that so many people get up in the morning and just dread going to work because they have no hope. They have no hope, or they have very little hope of it being any different. And the reality is this: the only way to make it different is to do it differently. You have to decide, I'm going to change. I'm going to go a different direction. And the answer, guys, a lot of times is not necessarily to go work for another company. My good friend Luke, you guys know of Endless Entrepreneurs, he switched jobs just earlier this year, within the last year, and he thought he was making, somewhat of a lateral move, but he thought he was working for a better company. And it turned out in some ways to be worse. Not that there's anything wrong with the company. It's just their expectations were so high and so difficult for him that he struggled to maintain any sort of balance in his life. And, he's a young guy and he's got a ton of energy and get up and go, as you guys know, if you've watched his channel. It's not made to spend all your time at work. It's not meant to spend all this time and energy doing something you have no hope of ever being better. I mean, where is the joy in that? Where is the even reason to do that? And I just think that if you want to change your life, selling on eBay is a great way to do it. Selling on Etsy, Poshmark is a great way to do it. Selling on Amazon is a great way to do it. Starting a business is a great way to do it. It's going to change. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's all going to be rosy and everything's going to be easy. And there's going to be some hard times. There's going to be some valleys for sure, just like there's going to be some peaks and mountaintops. But you can control the direction of all that, guys. You don't have control of everything, but you have so much more control over your time and how you run your business and your value you can give to other people. Your sense of accomplishment is going to change. Your ability to have this freedom in your day, in the way that, you spend your day, you spend your week, you spend your month. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm telling you, I joke all the time. I am totally unemployable right now. There's no way I could go back and work for someone else. I couldn't do it because it would just crush my soul. And I think a lot of people out there that are listening to this video right now, your soul's being crushed by something. Life is too short to live like that. You can change. You can be different. You can do it a different way. You can go in a different direction, but you got to take steps to do it. No one's going to be able to do it for you. And you got to quit living in fear and instead live in hope, live in optimism that it's going to be better. And, continue to strive towards doing it a different way and going in a whole different direction. So you don't have to live in all that fear and hopelessness that most of us live with on a daily basis. So that was my topic for today, guys. I'd love to hear your comments. I know the comments were flying by. We got 115 people watching, which is amazing. It's so funny. Somebody said they worked for Kmart. Yeah, I worked for Kmart too, and that was a soul-crushing company. I can tell you. I didn't know at the time. I was younger then, but it was a very difficult one to. But if you guys have questions or comments about the topic, or really anything for that matter, I'd love to hear them and love to hear your perceptions and your take on, just how are you going to change your life today? I mean, that's what I should have called the show. Like, what are you going to do to change your life today? Because there's no staying in place. Like, there is no neutral. You're not staying in place. You're either moving forward, moving towards a positive direction, or you're moving backwards in a not so positive direction. I mean, I don't think we stay stuck in neutral. Not moving is usually negative in a lot of cases, unless you're in a great place. But even there, you're always looking to strive and to do things and to achieve. But I love the blue light special somebody said about Kmart. Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Lauren's in there. Hey, Lauren, how you doing? Make sure you're getting money at least one other place than eBay. Yeah, and that's a great. You know what, Lauren? Lauren, I'm so glad you said that. So Lauren said, make sure you're getting your money. You're getting money at least one other place than eBay. Here's a news flash, guys. If you're working one job and getting one paycheck, you are at risk. You are at risk of getting laid off, of getting fired, getting downsized, getting moved to a job you hate even more maybe than the one you have. You are the ultimate risk taker. You have no other source of income. You have no other revenue stream. What happens if the entrepreneur who runs that company decides to get rid of you or decides to shut the whole thing down and go home? And that can and does happen to tens of thousands of people every year in this country and around the world. So always think about ways to diverse your revenue out. You can sell different things on eBay. You can sell on a whole different platform other than eBay. You can go open up another. You can invest in real estate. You can invest in the stock market. And there's so many other things you can do. You can become a YouTuber. I mean, you can do all these other things to make sure that you're securing your financial future, so that if any one thing goes wrong, it's not the end of the world. You've still got some backup. So great point, Lauren. I'm glad you brought that up. Let's see here. Dutch says you were a college professor. Yes, believe it or not, many years ago. I love that. That was one job I did kind of love. But even there, whew, the administrative and back end part of that job was not fun. Dealing with some of the personalities, shall we say. But I loved doing it for sure. Let's see. I had to leave my corporate sales job due to working for a horrible company. I had migraines from the moment I woke up until I go to sleep. I stayed as long as I could because of insurance. Oh, that is so brutal, isn't it, JS Reseller? I mean, who wants to wake up sick every day because of their job? I mean, that is just the worst. It's like you wake up every day sick because of what you're about to go do. Like, that's changeable. It's not easy, but it's changeable. So I'm glad you got out of it. Even if it meant taking a hit in your standard of living, it's still better than waking up sick every day. And I hope you're not doing that anymore. Let's see. I've been clean from heroin for like 13 years. Think I can charge people to tell my story? I don't think you need to charge them to tell your story. I think you should just tell your story, and things are going to come back to you in ways you'll never even anticipate. Side Hustle Pro. You don't have to charge them. You don't have to charge them anything. People are going to flock to you, and opportunities will come to you like you will not believe. If you're authentic and you have a great story about overcoming, that addiction or that drug and that adversity in your life, which is not easy from everything I know about it, I think you'll do amazing. Let's see here. I found out I'm not a t-shirt designer. I will not pursue that stream of income. Yeah, merch for us is Merch by Amazon has been just sort of, we haven't really put a lot of time to it in the last 2 or 3 months, but we do still sell a few shirts, but we have not put the time into it we should. We found the design process for us was becoming a little bit time intensive as well, but still probably worth revisiting because it is sort of a passive sense. Let's see. Thomas says the students at his high school teaching job are the only good part. I love the student interaction. It was amazing because people are so different and they come at you. And I love to just, see how people would, you could say something and you could see the light bulbs going off, like they would start thinking about a different level. And it's like, whenever you can do that. Let's see. The stress from my old job made me fat and sick too. Lost 102 pounds since I left. Good for you, Seam Store. That's amazing. Yeah, I wonder how many people out there are in poor health because of their job, because of the stress and anxiety, not to mention what it does to their personal relationships with their family and their loved ones and their friends. I bet that number is huge. And you know what? No job is worth that. It's just not. It's just not. We're not built to be like that. Let's see here. 90%. Life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% how you react. Totally agree. You can choose how you react to things and how they affect you. Even if it's a negative thing, like you can learn things from that, and you can. I heard Pat Flynn talking about that today, saying about dealing with the haters and the comments and so on as he's progressed over the years. And he said, I realized at some point it was not worth spending all this time and energy on this small percentage of people that was sucking up tremendous amounts of my time and getting me nothing in return. There just wasn't any value in it, trying to argue with people and trying to, get these people to like me because they didn't for whatever reason, probably because they didn't like themselves very much. And life's like that. It is. You got to let some people just go, and they're just not in a place where they're going to be nice to you yet. They've got their own demons they're fighting against. So, let's see here. Lots of comments coming in. Thank you guys for all the comments. Woo, there is just so many. Gosh, I can't even, man, some of these comments are so amazing. I can't even cover them all. There just isn't enough time. I like my job. Bailey, I think, says, I like my job, but I'm pushing 60 and there's prejudice against hiring older folks, and being a widow, it's all up to me. So it's eBay part-time now. Good for you, Bailey. I mean, you didn't let a limitation, as you saw it, limit you. So you're going off in a different direction. You're going to go do something where that, that limitation, if it is a limitation, doesn't affect you at all. So I think that's very wise. You have nothing to lose by doing that and everything to gain. So good for you. Let's see here. Thanks for the encouragement, guys. Tell it, Prof. That means a lot when you guys say stuff like that. It really does. I know I don't shout all those out, but it really does. Let's see. Prof, you need to write a chicken soup for eBay book. Chicken soup for the soul, right? I don't know about that. I just, there's times when you've just got to, I think when you're, you can be genuine with people and just tell them, reality, like what's really on your, what's on your heart, what's on your mind. And I think that's always exciting to hear from people when it's authentic. So that's all I try to do. I don't try to be anybody different than who I am, and who I am is always changing just a little bit every day, but the core of it's still the same. eBay will be my way of sending my kids to college. Man, that is awesome, Hobo. I mean, think about that. The cost of a college education is not cheap. And if you can earn enough revenue to send your kids to college, you're doing what I said. You're improving your life, because otherwise, where would that money come from? You know, you see value in your kids going to college. They see value in it, and you figured out a way to do it that doesn't put all that financial burden on them necessarily, or not as much burden on them, or taking out loans or all these things. And that's such a huge win-win. Like, you know, you're investing in them and their education, and they're investing in their education. And that's going to pay some dividends down the road, no matter what they do. And that's something that being in business for yourself, selling on eBay, for instance, can do for you. And you may have a smaller goal than that, maybe a smaller need than that, or you may have a larger goal than that. Maybe you want to make enough money to put a down payment on a house, or, you know, help with medical bills. I mean, anything like that. You know, there's no like right or wrong answer for how you do eBay and how you sell on it. But I know that like selling on these platforms lets the little guys like us compete on a bigger stage than we used to be able to, without having to, invest all this intensive amounts of capital. And so you can do, you can take a small amount of time, energy, and money and invest it, turn for it, that you can use, and I just think that's awesome when I hear stories like that, people are like, oh, I did this and here's the awesome result that came out of it. So good for you, Hobo. Let's see. Lots of great comments here. WV Thrifter says, love my job in the legal field, not an attorney, but can't wait until the income can replace my salary. Hustling. Yeah. And that's just like a win-win. Like you're like, oh, well, I can actually do this to this level. Well, maybe I can even do it to a different level. So then you have options, WV. You can decide if you want to continue your legal career, or maybe at a reduced level, or maybe do something different and still do eBay as well. So that's really smart. Congrats for that. Danny says, first live stream. Well, welcome, Danny. Make sure you rewind if you just came in and watch the beginning of the show, because we talked about a lot of things. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. I met a guy who paid for his kids' college by making knitting scarves and selling them at craft shows. I mean, guys, we're living in the golden age of entrepreneurship. I really, truly believe that. Like, never has the playing field been so level, and never has the cost of entry been so low as it is right now. And if you don't take advantage of that right now, you may end up kicking yourself one day down the road. Doesn't matter which age you are, where you're at in life, you can do it right now. And you can do it so cheaply and get involved at such a small level if you want, and test the waters and see what you think and decide if you want to go this way or that. So it's a great time to be involved in reselling. It's a great time to be selling on eBay or any of these e-commerce platforms. And it's always a great time, I think, to start a business for all the reasons I talked about earlier in this video. Let's see. Just sent in my last tuition payment for my sons. That's why I started the online business. Now working on leaving the day job. Progress, Ed Miller. Good luck to you. That is great. I'm paying off credits and buying groceries. Thanks, eBay, I'm surviving. Yep. And you know what? Some days we thrive, and some days we just survive. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you're not gonna kill it and knock it out of the park every single day. And that's okay. That's perfectly normal, and that's what's going to happen to all of us. So you shouldn't get down about that. So let's see. My 11-year-old son asked me to open him an eBay store. That's awesome. Are you going to do it large bargains? That'd be great. Let's see. I'm just selling to buy art supplies until I get my first large commission piece. Oh, congrats, Key Lime. That's amazing. Like, what a utility argument there. I have a need to buy art supplies because I love to do art and I want to sell my pieces. I want to, sell commission pieces. So I'm going to use reselling to pay for my supplies. Genius. I mean, that's genius. Like, that's, instead of throwing your hands up and going, man, I really want to sell some artwork, but I need supplies, and gosh, I just don't have the money for them, or I'll sit here and wallow in pity. Nope. You went out and said, all right, here's a way to do it. Here's a way to get it. So I got to do this to get this, which is what I really want. So that's great. Congratulations on that. And I hope it goes well for you. Let's see. What else? Yes, I'm going to open up my son under my name. I will not do any work for him. It'll be all his. I think that's wise, Large. Let them learn young and see what they think, and that might not be their last brush with being an entrepreneur necessarily. I think I've told this story before, but Mark Cuban was a year older than your son, Large. He was 12 and wanted money from his dad, who was playing a poker game at the time. And he said, well, you're going to have to earn it. And somebody gave him some trash bags and told him to go sell them. So Mark Cuban went door to door selling trash bags to people to earn money when he was 12 years old. I mean, you do what it takes. I mean, there's nothing glorious about cold calling people on a Saturday afternoon at their house to buy trash bags from you. There's no real glory in that, right? I mean, that's just getting out there and saying, I'm doing what it takes. So, but he learned something, he learned what it takes sometimes when you don't have the resources of a billionaire like he is now. When you're starting out with humble beginnings, and you've got to learn something about. He learned a skill set like how to talk to people, how to sell things, which is a great skill set. So sounds like your son will do great too, and it'll be interesting to follow the progress. Let's see what other comments are here. You guys are great comments, by the way. What does Rebecca say here? As an employee, you are so used to being told what to do and how to do it. Sadly, with eBay, I'm starting to reverse the employee mindset. You hit the nail on the head there, Rebecca. I mean, as an employee, you're told what to do and how to do it. And you don't get to usually decide, oh, but I want to do it a different way on my own term. Nope, that's not the way it works. So ultimately, you end up being somewhat of a robot. Even if you're at a high level, it's like, this is what we expect you to do and when and how under these terms and conditions. And that's just the way it works as a job, right? So it's great when you work for yourself because you get to decide all those things. Because I don't think most of us are programmed to act that way or to be that way. It's just sort of how it's evolved. Maybe I think it's a societal thing too in some cases. Like we decide that there's people in authority over us, in this case, a boss, because they have some power over us. And therefore we have to kind of, bow down to all their wishes and how they do it or else to work. But I don't know, that doesn't fit for me. It doesn't sit well with me. I just don't like it. I mean, it's just really that simple. It doesn't seem, I think life is, I go back to Office Space, one of my favorite movies of all time. When one of the characters says, we were not made to sit in cubicles. So, it's like, okay, I understand you're breaking up an office this way into cubicles, but I don't want that. I want to be able to see a window and look outside. But you don't get that choice when you work for someone else, gang. You got to do it their way or else hit the highway, right? So that's just not for me. And I don't think it should be for most people, honestly. Let's see. Mark says, 20 years helping bosses get rich, and they did me with false promises. Mark, you're not alone. That happens to a lot of people. It happened to me. Not even false promises, just sometimes no promise, Like, if I do this, will this happen for me? We'll see. Wow. That's committal, a committed viewpoint. Can you at least tell them? Nope, they won't. It's all just, and sometimes you felt like you weren't being compensated with opportunities the way that you should have been given what you were giving back. And unfortunately, you don't get to make that decision when you work for someone else. You only get to make that decision when you work for yourself. My daughter asked why I don't work a real job anymore. The stress was insane. Canuck Gal, I hear you. Real job can be insane, and in lots of cases, it's insane. It's just not worth putting that on you. It really isn't. it destroys your health, destroys your mental and physical health, disrupts your relationships. I mean, it just cascades through your life. Let's see what other comments there are. You never fire yourself when you work for yourself. I love that. It's great. That is awesome. You never fire yourself when you work for yourself. That's true. Sometimes you probably should ask, would I fire myself the way I'm doing this? But I like that. That's great. Yep. Spend all day inside with no windows and forget what even looks like outside. Janetta, I don't know if you've seen the movie Office Space, but you should watch it. It's a great movie because it's all about a guy and his dream of doing nothing. So maybe not the most entrepreneurial thing in the world, but the point is that working for someone else can be soul crushing, because it was for one of the characters in the movie. And, there's something to that. Just not being able to go outside when you want to. I mean, come on, we're so, we're made to be outside in nature too sometimes. And you can't do that a lot of places. Let's see what else here. Take a couple more. One of my favorite movies. Yeah, it's a great movie. It's very funny. It's kind of a cult classic these days. I fire and rehire my spouse on the weekly basis. That's great, Bella. What does your spouse think about that? Cubicles were made for robots. I know, right? My grandson took his own money and bought a popular toy. He then brought the toy to me and asked me to list it. He helped with the description. Every day he comes in and asks if it's sold. Good for him. A budding entrepreneur. I love it. Hopefully his toy will sell soon and he'll be like, yes. Let's see. His wife. I don't know what. There's a side conversation going on here. The only loan we have is our home mortgage. I want to retire in my 40s with no debt. That's a great goal, Lauren. I would argue life's too short to work for somebody else. It just is. You're never going to be as happy as you could be doing other things. I think most people, who was it Thoreau or Whitman, who said most men live lives of quiet desperation. So much truth in that comment. And it's true. A lot of us just live quietly desperate to be something else, to do something else, to feel something else, to give something else, and we don't do it. And I would just argue you don't have to be that way anymore. The paradigm has changed. The playing field is leveled. The cost of entry is lower. Like I said earlier, you can go change your life. You can start a business. You can sell on eBay. You can do so many things you couldn't do in the past because they were much more difficult. So there's just no reason to live like that. There's no reason to be stuck in these soul-crushing, stressful jobs that just destroy you. So get out there and do it. Start. Write down a list. Make a list of ideas. Get started. Investigate something. Research items to sell. It doesn't matter. Like, sell the things around your house. Just start. See where you get. You'll get somewhere. Something will happen. You'll learn something, and you'll feel better that you got started. So thanks again, guys, for joining. Hope you loved this video. If you did, please hit the like button down below and leave me a comment. And check out the description for links for subscribing, for our gear that we sell. All kinds of stuff is in there. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. I will see you guys real soon. And if you haven't got started on your dream, what are you waiting for? Thanks, everyone. Take care. Prof Sales saying good sales to you.